O Namo Manju Shi Ye Namo Su Shi Ye Namo O Dama Shi Ye Su O Namo Manju Shi Ye Namo Su Shi Ye Namo O Dama Shi Ye Su Ye Zhidang Zugi Chunang Lai Jiang Ju Ma Du Nan De Gap Su Chi Da Ge Ji Be Chong Nang Gi Zhou La Ben Jie Sang Ge Zhu Ba Shu Zhidang Zugi Chunang Lai Jiang Ju Ma Du Nan De Gap Su Chi Da Ge Ji Be Chong Nang Gi Zhou La Ben Jie Sang Ge Zhu Ba Shu Zhidang Zugi Chunang Lai Jiang Ju Ma Du Nan De Gap Su Chi Da Ge Ji Be Chong Nang Gi 我老本街上给主包书，修行被主张，让内心你得给马地，上给心都没得我也就跟上那些那些马书，一到我说上没他那对呀那呀的。
那如果那个确定是到的话，我就那不管现在是哪个大厂，到底是第一方的是个人情况下的，我们这个提前的马习惯，这样子。 이제 좀 만드는 대화 대저 방도 보고 지금 이만 바힌 거 되게 기지적 이제 좀 만드는 대화가 되게 그래서 받아 되는 정말로 연바 주주 연바 더 비춰서 대신에 뭐라마다 신지 먹고 참 그렇지.
Please adjust your sitting posture according to 7 meditative postures of Vairocana. I think all sentient beings have been my mothers. And all sentient beings have been my mothers for not just once, but for numberless times. They are as kind as my mothers in this life. Even though all kind mothers sentient beings want happiness, they do not want even a small suffering. However, due to engaging wrongly with objects of adoptions and abandonment wrongly, they do not experience any happiness, suffering. In our minds, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all suffering mothers and sentient beings. Generate loving kindness towards all kind mothers and sentient beings, thinking how nice it would be if all kind mothers and sentient beings had excellent happiness and causes of happiness, that is virtue. May all kind mothers and sentient beings have excellent happiness. I will cause all kind mothers and sentient beings to experience excellent happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
is what they just wanted to you can get a good emotion, you will also be leading the good sort of a turn to teach about the show to the shame, like she will be.
Next, we generate compassion towards all suffering mothers and sentient beings, thinking how nice it would be if the bodies of all suffering mothers and sentient beings were free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as physical pain, suffering, and problems caused by 4 elements. May the bodies of all suffering mothers and sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the bodies of all suffering mothers and sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
What the division wanted to teach you to go with the rhythm, not the Charani, 타다가 때문에 좀 직접적으로 답변을 드리시는 거는 뭐는 신경도 무슨 뜻을 가지고 있는지.
How nice it would be if the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as mental suffering, fear, coarse and subtle, discursive thoughts. May the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
Buddhist logic to use one of the things merging in what China, China to tomorrow. So, you draw a double show to the Shin, Mala, Shin, of the soul, this is
How nice it would be if the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue, coarse and subtle negative speech such as telling lies. May the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Or free the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
They just watch like to use mandala goes to be short, but the TV show, Tara, the Gemma. Oh, you draw a double show to the Shin, Mala, Shin, of the soul, this is
How nice it would be if the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. May the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
Pages and you told you to wear the way you do that. You can give what the oh, you go down the show to the Lama, Shin, of the soul, some physical achievement.
How nice it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering and the causes of suffering, that is non-virtue. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. I will free all sentient beings from suffering and the causes of suffering. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
Just one night, Jim London and Quarter, you see, do what we pursue up Yama, get a plus not about such whatever personal in front of the soldier and living, so you can get the soldier comparable. You get to watch out, what you say, or just
Next, we generate bodhicitta. First, we ask ourselves, who should take on the responsibility to free all kind mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms? I should take on the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms. Even though I should take on the responsibility to do so, but I do not have the ability to free them from sufferings now. Who has the abilities? Only those who have achieved the perfectly complete enlightenment with the abilities to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind, the aspiring conventional bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. These transform into a perfect mundis at one's heart. And the ultimate bodhicitta, that is one's mind becoming one taste with emptiness, the lack of inherent existence, that transform into a white five-pronged vajra on top of the mundis. Next, we meditate on emptiness for a short while, that I exist neither intrinsically one with nor intrinsically different from the aggregates. Thus, I am empty of intrinsic existence. As I always say, it's important whenever we engage in virtue with our three doors, it is important to conjoin it with the practice of six perfections. Thus, the first practice of perfection is generosity. The nature of generosity is the intentions of giving. These 2 hours of listening, contemplations, and meditations on Dharma is for the arising of happiness and pacifying the sufferings of all sentient beings. Next is morality. Morality is a mind of abandonment. During these 2 hours of listening and meditating on Dharma, I will abandon my physical and verbal negativities so that they do not manifest.
내 상고서 집에 가서 여기 생각해 두면다 강이 같이 좀 하는데 돈도 있는 세투가 지원이나 내 상고서 집에 계좌에 SB 가지고 있는
Next is patience. The nature of patience is an undisturbed mind. During these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will be patiently accepting any physical or mental hardships that occur. Next is joyous effort. Joyous effort is a mind that takes delight in virtue. I will delightfully put effort in listening to, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma. Next is meditative stabilization. Meditative stabilization is a mind that single-pointedly focuses on any virtuous object of observation. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will single-pointedly focus my mind on the virtuous object and not influenced by not get influenced by distractions and discursive thoughts. And the last one is wisdom. Wisdom is an awareness that thoroughly distinguishes phenomena. I will correctly and unmistakably understand the words and the meanings of the teachings that I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on. Set a good motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this purpose, I'm going to listen to the holy teachings and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings.
Ludu Gumba the Matao. The Ludu Gumba the Tao, the day, Ludu Gumba the Tao, they made Damitina, Devala Damitina because Renego, Darwa, the Shaji, making your Umbachina. That time it was the Shaji, engage Umba, need to need the Shabajin.
This to Rangi Juba,
Oh, that's
she must hear.
Shaji Jebata. The Tani was the Shaji Majib, the Mabani. That was Mabani, that Tani the Shaji Yingate of Mahajiba. That Tani was the Shaji Yingate of Hajuas. Those Tani Leva is good.
Can you do Rangi Juba Dura?
Oh, the Shaji Yim,
Shaggy Shema. So previously we talked about we gave a general presentations about Madhyamaka. So and Madhyamaka can be divided into two: Svadantika Madhyamaka and Prasangika Madhyamaka. So and Nagarjuna is said Nagarjuna is the one who revived the systems of Madhyamaka. In other words of saying this, I've seen other translations for this is Nagarjuna is the founder of Madhyamaka. So in other words, is the one who revived the systems of Madhyamaka. So when Nagarjuna was alive, Nagarjuna did not clearly distinguish the Madhyamaka into Svadantika Madhyamaka and Prasangika Madhyamaka. So there is only after those followers of Nagarjuna, such as Buddha Palita, Bhava Viveka, Chandrakirti, Kamalashila, when they explain on the intentions, or comments on the intentions, and in order to ascertain the lack of true existence, then it spreads into two. The one Madhyamaka who assert establishment by way of its own characteristics conventionally, and Madhyamaka who do not assert establishment by way of its own character conventionally. So it separates into two, right? One who assert and one who do not assert. So the Madhyamaka who assert establishment by way of its own character conventionally is Svadantika Madhyamaka. And Madhyamaka who do not assert establishment by way of its own character conventionally, then that is Prasangika Madhyamaka. So the foundational differences between Svadantika Madhyamaka and Sangika Madhyamaka lies in this, whether they assert establishment by way of its own character conventionally. So Madhyamaka who assert establishment by way of its own character conventionally is Svadantika Madhyamaka, and Madhyamaka who do not assert establishment by way of its own character conventionally is Sangika Madhyamaka.
What is that? The digital side. Also, the Makati was a constitution should say, or the Ranjibu, you are the thing show the Ranjibu, Taji, show the Tataboranji, not saying that you are Rashiba. You the Jimmy was a donation, there's so much leadership, but such a deal. I said you did Tomo and see the matter share you.
So as we previously talked about, Madhyamaka can be divided into two: Svadantika Madhyamaka and Sangika Madhyamaka. So first we will talk about Svadantika Madhyamaka. So this is explained according to 7 points: definition, divisions, etymology, modes of asserting objects, modes of asserting object possessors, modes of asserting selflessness, and presentations of grounds and paths. So the definitions of Svatantika is a Madhyamaka who, by means of accepting autonomous reasons, does not assert true existence, even nominally, conventionally. Yeah, so to talk about these autonomous reasons, if we do not learn about how to debate, then it's very difficult to understand what this autonomous reason refers to. So because how's it this autonomous reason, then whether the three modes are established from its own side or not. So if we do not learn about, if we do not know about debates, then it's very difficult to understand what autonomous reason is. So what we have to understand here in relation to the definitions of a Svatantika is he is a Madhyamaka, and through asserting or accepting autonomous reason, and do not assert true existence even conventionally. So this is what we have to understand from the definitions of a Svatantika. So through asserting or accepting autonomous reason, do not assert or do not accept true existence even conventionally or nominally. So there is an alternate definitions of Svatantika Madhyamaka, which is easier to understand. So opponents of non-entityness who assert establishment by way of its own character conventionally. So I repeat, an alternate definition for Svatantika Madhyamaka is opponents of non-entityness assert the establishment by way of its own character conventionally. So this second definition is easier than the one stated on the text, is because in the text it talks about accepting autonomous reasons, which is difficult for us to understand for the time being. So an alternate definitions is easier to understand.
무지 샤서 되지 와 내가 런지 여바 엄마가 되지 와 오, 이 러디 나다 간다 케네게 다른 런지 봐서 잡았는데 요 말이지 엄마 단조할 때 런지 친구가 단지 케네고 도와 케네고 도와 다른 런지 보면 넣어서 치는 거 크리진의 디스코디 그렇죠 좋아
So the alternate definitions for Svatantika Madhyamaka is proponents of non-entityness who assert the establishment by way of his own character conventionally. So proponents of non-entityness also refer to Madhyamaka. So Madhyamaka or proponents of non-entityness, they are mutually inclusive. And these proponents of non-entityness can be divided into two, Svatantika Madhyamaka and Svatantika or Prasangika. So Svatantika Madhyamaka who assert the establishment by way of its own characteristic conventionally. So when we say proponents of non-entityness who assert the establishment by way of its own character conventionally, and this is only refers to the Svatantika Madhyamaka only, because Prasangika Madhyamaka do not assert establishment by way of its own character conventionally. So because for Prasangika Madhyamaka, this establishment by way of its own character conventionally is an object of negation.
Oh, dear. Wow. 얘가 rangi jiyoba ba oma ba tenji se lo do pe jan ka do do wa 얘가 rangi jiyoba ba oma tenji se a rangi ba de da da rangi ji jiyoba mai oma ba se wa de rangi ba do sa yo
Rangi ji do be
wa rangi ji do ba ni to be yoba mo da rangi to be yoba mo rangi to be yoba mo sa de ko oma ba da ji ba wa 얘가 rangi ji yoba mai a oma ba da tenji oma ba tenji se lo do wa rangi joba mai oma ba deda rangi ba ni denda jiba le eslo rangi ba ina rangi joba mai oma ba rangi joba mai oma ba ina rangi ba ipo wa
rangi ki yoba ma wa tang ang ni juba ma wa ti
wa ma wa ti na wa lo wa ma ba lo wa wa rangi ne ba yoba mai oma ba rangi joba yoba mai oma ba rangi chinji joba yoba mai oma ba ino ne ji we wa dela ta rangi ba ma to shi yoba The
Svatantika is mutually inclusive with Madhyamaka who propounds inherent existence. So Madhyamaka who propounds inherent existence is mutually inclusive with Svatantika. And similarly, Madhyamaka who propounds existence or establishment from his own side and establishment by way of his own character, and these are mutually inclusive with Svatantika as well. So I repeat, Madhyamaka who propounds inherent existence, a Madhyamaka who propounds existence from his own side, a Madhyamaka who propounds establishment by way of his own character, are mutually inclusive with Svatantika.
Oh, this is not casting out the shame. We don't like money, maybe somebody is wrong. Dole chödangje ngoni me pasong yaro ando le dole o dole chödangje ngoni me paso kasing de shi zhe ba de ji bu shi zhe ba dole chödangje ngoni me pasong de ba de ga de ko ngoni me paso kye ngo de ga kye ngo so dole chödangje ngoni me paso gumba de song de gumba de ka ta ho se ra ji ko de tang par ngoni me ba so ma de so chödangje de tang par ngoni yo mar se ngoni ma du ba re so de ma du ba se wa de tang par ngoni ji ma du ba res ngoni ji tu ba de yore es ngoni ji tu ba de yore ngoni tu ba de yore de ta dole ngoni me ba so ba de de ta ba ngoni me ba so ba res to de ta ba ngoni ji ma du sis yore es ngoni ji ba de tu ba de ta de no to
ngoni ji tu ba de ke ling yo
ngoni ji tu ba de yore es ngoni ji tu ba de yore es dole ma chi ni na de ngoni me ba so ba de ba de ta so ba sna 나 tambar ngoni me ba so yo res chen ri de tambar ngoni me ba so ya de tam du yo ma res so ji tam tu san de ba du yes yo res o de so ma res o da ran ji ba de
Okay, so previously we talked about from Sutra, it says all phenomena are all phenomena lack completeness, right? All phenomena lack entityness. So how do Svadantika Madhyamika comment on this? Comment on these intentions, on the statement, all phenomena lack entityness. So for Svadantika Madhyamika, they assert that all phenomena do not exist. All phenomena do not exist intrinsically, ultimately, or on the ultimate level. All phenomena do not exist intrinsically, ultimately, or on the ultimate level. So because if for them, if anything exists ultimately, then it is truly existence. So for them, for Svadantika, if anything exists ultimately, then it is truly existence. So for Svadantika, they comment on the intentions of this statement, saying that all phenomena do not exist intrinsically, ultimately, or on the ultimate level. So even though they assert that there is establishment even though they assert there is intrinsic establishment, however, they do not assert that all phenomena exist intrinsically on the ultimate level or ultimately.
저다 런지가 말아. 뭐니 그거 가요 말해서 좋아. 뭐니 그거 요래서 뭐니 그거 가봐이나 나 지금 잡기 이만게 처음에 그거 말해서 어디 뭐니 그거 가서는 지금 나셔야 돼요. 지금 말해. 근데 이게 나셔야 돼서도 지금 말해서 뭐니 우리가 지나지 뭐 말해서 뭐니 그거 가져와이나 그래서 이게 나셔야 돼. 근데 나셔 처음에 맞이밖에 말해서 좋아. 이렇게 우리에서
mỗi nhị tụ bà đi vô đấy.
muốn tụ bà cao vậy na, nên nó vậy na, cái nói ra thì cũng 말이 돼, nói ra 참아 타니 되고 뭐 되고 잘 됐어.
So for Svadantika Madhyamika, they assert that there is establishment, there is intrinsic establishment. So if intrinsic establishment is negated, then presentations of cause and effect and presentations of dependent arising are not tenable conventionally. So for Svadantika Madhyamika, they say there is intrinsic establishment. So because if intrinsic establishment is negated, then presentations of cause and effect or dependent arising are not tenable conventionally.
되지로. 되니마 원마 이해가 됩니다. 라지바 이해와데 이런 거지 오마 라지바가 인지지 오마 라지바 이해와 너무 이해와데 되니요. 어디지 오마 라지바. 라지바 이해와 되니요. 야 그렇지 뭐 어디지 오마 라지바 이해와 이해와.
Then we come to second outline, which is divisions. So there are two divisions: Sautrantika, Svadantika, Madhyamika, and Yogacara, Svadantika, Madhyamika. So this we also have to keep in our mind that there are two divisions of There are two divisions of Svadantika, Madhyamika: Sautrantika, Svadantika, Madhyamika, and Yogacara, Svadantika, Madhyamika.
근데 정말 머리를 샤우디 아니 나가 거지 너데보다 고티 내가 요마바데 뭐 너데지 보면 무슨 해서 와 아니 나가 되게 너데보다 고티 내가 요마바데 너데지 보면 되겠지 전에 지나셔 봐도 세자보다 고티 내가 요마바데 너데지 보면 되겠지 그래서
So the definitions for this first one, Sautrantika, Svadantika, Madhyamika, is a Madhyamika who propounds the presentations of nominal existence or conventional existence, mostly in accordance with Sautrantika tenets. And the definition of Yogacara Svadantika Madhyamika is a Madhyamika who propounds the presentations of nominal existence or conventional existence, mostly in accordance with Chitamatra tenets.
나 condition 와서 너도 지금 뭐 하지 받으니 전에 지나서 너데보다 고티바 너데보다 다 패션 나와 하도 그래 와 너데보다 몇 시부터 나와서 패션 나와 나는 가는 나와서나 한 너데보게 간다 싫어 되도 좀 해야지 기본 싫어 기본 와 싫어 되도 좀 누구로 와 너데보게 나 싫어 되도 좀 해봐 나시 대단 나와 너도 지금 뭐 하지 봐 대단 나와 싫어 되도 좀 Chile. Oh, and in Ajapan, no debate about this, and in Ajapan, no debate and our yes, no debate current hours now. Show credit to what? Then Dawa, let us take more antibody, to credit to what? Yes, didn't go. What did you see? No debate about is a long door.
So the definitions of a Sautrantika, Svadantika, Madhyamaka is a Madhyamaka who propounds a presentations of conventional existence, mostly in accordance with Sautrantika tenets. So, in another way of saying this is there are modes of assertions. Most of the way of assertions are similar. So similar in terms of Sautrantika asserts the establishments of external objects. Similarly, Sautrantika, Svadantika, Madhyamaka also asserts the establishments of external objects.
What did you want? And you might also be I need not up with the center of the good in my own native human, but say over. That's center of Shino to the Bachin killing Wilmarwa. Center of Shino to the killing Wilmarwa. Or that, Ninja woman on the center of the Dawa, I should not tell the Baki. In the Bated and our is a war. Center of Shino to the killing Wilmar. I should kill Maleva. Maleva. You tell the Baki Maleva and then give it. They can't didn't know image of the mass. Or didn't know yes, working in that.
And the definitions of a Yogacara Svadantika Madhyamaka is a Madhyamaka who propounds the presentations of nominal existence, mostly in accordance with Chittamatra tenets. So their way of assertions are similar. So Chittamatra do not assert the establishments of external objects. So similarly, Yogacara Svadantika Madhyamaka also do not assert the establishments of external objects. So in this from this perspective, then Yogacara Svadantika Madhyamaka is said to be a Madhyamaka who propounds the presentations of nominal existence, mostly in accordance with Chittamatra tenets.
Oh, did it? That can also the number Devo Kadiba, that Devo Lavina. Oh, Villa and Divide. It only came Malaysia. They don't get sent to killing Umabala.
It only came
Malaysia. Today, Rangi Sinji to a killing Umabade. And that, which woman was the Yes, she did came language. No, oh, we did. She came Malaysia.
Rari came in Lensing.
Oh, Rani came
Lensing.
Rani came in. She don't get sent to a killing. The Umaba Duna. No, did you Umar? Mother, taking that was a oh, Rani came Malaysia. They don't get sent to a killing Umaba Duna. No, did you Umar? She not
So an alternative yang Chinese roja lah.
But that's in the Shazan, you got so each of them was the sharp
So yang di Chinese yang Shana and Chendati. So so Sautrantika, Svadantika, Madhyamaka can be understood as a Madhyamaka who asserts establishment. So Sautrantika, Svadantika, Madhyamaka can be understood as a Madhyamaka who asserts that external objects are established by way of its own character and who do not assert self-knower. So I repeat, Sautrantika, Svadantika, Madhyamaka can be also understood as a Madhyamaka asserts that external objects are established by way of its own character and they do not assert self-knower.
Oh, they don't know the Jibuma, but they don't Jibuma. I don't recommend they don't need to kill him. Neither Jibuma, Jiba, she did kill Malaysia. She did kill Malaysia. Rikilling Umabach. She did kill Malaysia. Rikilling Umabach and Duna. What did Jibuma, Jiba, mother, she never say. She did kill Malaysia. Killing Umabach and Duna. Then into Jibuma, Jiba.
And Yogacara Svadantika Madhyamaka can be also understood as a Madhyamaka who do not assert Chiro a Madhyamaka who do not assert and who do not assert external objects, and they assert self-knower. Yogacara Svatantika Madhyamika can be also understood as a Madhyamika who do not assert external objects and assert self-knower, and they assert self-knower.
Oh, this is what I'm not talking about. The woman on the so today. And they did that. The Shinny was alone. Good did you woman on the so they didn't get the Shinny was out. But the Mongo, you're done. For the moment, go to Madame. And we didn't want to Omaranji, but he was on the edge of the Hima. They didn't get through. Hello, did Omaranji be Hindi on the race? Omaranji, but Jimmy Hindi on the dark. So did you Omaranji, but you on the vessel world.
Some examples of Sautrantika Svatantika are Bhava Viveka and Gyanakarbha. Examples of Yogacara Svatantika are Shantarashita, Haribhadra, and Kamalashila. So, Bhava Viveka is the Kamalashila in the Ninjujubi. Ninjujuba. Ninjasan de Love. Imachi de Love. Oh, Tambo in the Dojube. Yeah, so some examples of Sautrantika are Bhava Viveka and Gyanakarbha. So there are many other examples of Sautrantika Svatantika. So however, this Bhava Viveka Gyanakarbha, Bhava Viveka is like the main one, because Bhava Viveka is said to be the founder or the charioteer or pioneer of Sautrantika of Svatantika Madhyamika in general, and it also said to be founder of Sautrantika Svatantika Madhyamika. So some examples of Sautrantika Svatantika are Bhava Viveka and Gyanakarbha, right? So Bhava Viveka is one of the main is the founder of Svatantika Madhyamika in general, and in particular, Bhava Viveka is the founder or pioneer or charioteers of Sautrantika Svatantika Madhyamika.
And then you Omaranji be thinking that she wants a single number. The Kamala Shilas, that's what you Omaranji be thinking.
And the examples of Yogacara Svatantika are Shantarashita, Haribhadra, and Kamalashila.
I was just about Dashi the Mashija. Not Dashi the Kanda Lady. Omaranji be saying Anjita killing Buma by the Jibrius. The look at Sinji to killing. You Sinji Sinji to killing Mama Sonza. Rajita killing Uma by the decision from the Chilla Uma Majibashi.
Rangi Muni Drubi Tadero.
Rajista killing
Yugita. Yugita tang Rangi Muni Juba killing. Rangi Juba.
So running to the Asylum.
Yeah, the Rangi Muni Juba killing, but Rangi Tini Juba killing. Etymology, the reason why Bhava Viveka is said to be a Svatantika Madhyamika is that he is a Madhyamika who asserts autonomous reason. So this is if follow the word if follow Tibetan literally, then it would be he is a Madhyamika who asserts autonomous reason. So however, in terms of meaning, it is the same, that he is a Madhyamika who asserts reason that exists from their own side, that asserts reason that exists by way of its own character.
지수랑은 주고 따라 떼네. 대박도 광고가 시비나. yes. 여기 뜻이 거기서는 진짜 거기를 해줘.
Yeah, so to understand the etymology in an easier way, then it would be the reason why Bhava Viveka is said to be a Svadantika Madhyamika, because it is Madhyamika who negates true existence, independence on reasoning, whose three aspects are established from his onset. So to understand this etymology in another way or in an easier way, then it would be the reason why Bhava Viveka is said to be a Svadantika Madhyamika is that it is a Madhyamika who negates true existence in dependence on reasoning, whose three aspects are established from his own side. Modes of asserting objects, so established by way of his own characteristics, established from his own side, and inherent existence are mutually inclusive. So they are mutually inclusive for Svadantika Madhyamika. Non-compounded space, true sensations, past, future, and subtle selflessness of persons are non-affirming negatives, and they are conventional truths as well. So again, for Svadantika, ultimate truth, reality, and subtle selflessness of phenomena are mutually inclusive. And Svadantika, Svadantika define ultimate truth and conventional truth exactly the same as Chittamatra. So Chittamatra definitions of an ultimate truth is that which is realized by a valid direct perceiver. Another way of saying this is direct valid cognizer that directly realizes it by way of the vanishing of dualistic appearances. So realizes it by way of the vanishing of dualistic appearances. In another way of saying this is in a non-dualistic manner. And the definitions of a conventional truth asserted by Chittamatra and Svadantika is that which is realized by a valid direct perceiver. Another way of saying this is direct valid cognizer that directly realizes it by way of being together with dualistic appearances in a dualistic manner. So this by way of being together with dualistic appearances. In another way of saying this is in a dualistic manner.
그래서 소통을 해봐도 뭐 그냥 예스 그 처음에서 훨씬 되는 예스와 그때 더 되시고 뭐 하지 마시. 이게 그거 대봐 그래서 뭐 뒤에서 나오는 봐. 그러다 되고.
The Sautrantika, Svatantika, Madhyamaka, then as I previously mentioned, then their way of asserting their presentations of conventional existence is similar to Sautrantika, right? So Sautrantika, Svatantika, Madhyamaka assert that the five sense objects, form, and etc. are of different entities from consciousness, and they assert that external objects composed of less particles as gross objects. And they assert that a gross object composed of partless particles are external objects or as external objects. So I repeat, and they assert that the gross objects composed of partless particles are external objects. They assert that gross objects composed of partless particles are external objects.
그러니까 내가 지금 뭐 봤다나 이거 대화로 집이 시보다 뭐 지금 그래서 내가 집이 엄마 받았다기 네가 생각보다 못 된다는 거. 그 생각 보면서 저 대화에 나 지금 시보다 집이다 뭐 지금 와. 근데 걔는 그럼 뭐 생각을 시대 끌고 뭐 와. 키를 내와서다. 내가 지금 뭐 봤다나 저 대화에 나 집이 시보다 뭐 지금 그래서 와. 뭐 다른 데서는 쉬어 되는 거 걔는 뭐 한 쇼트도 뭐 걔는 뭐 와. 어디 생각보다 집안 뭐해서 되게 쉬워 봐. 뭐 되다.
Ngota Kelena, Ngota Kelena, or children to kill it.
싫어 되는 거 걔는 그래서 저 대화 아니 시보다 뭐 다른 데 필요해서 저 되는 거 걔는 뭐 와.
The Yogacaras, Svatantika, Madhyamikas, as I mentioned before, most of their presentations of conventional existence are similar to Chittamatra, right? So the Yogacaras, Svatantika, Madhyamika assert that the five sense objects, form, and etc. are one entity with the consciousness apprehending them. So five sense objects, such as form, are one entity with the consciousness apprehending them. So for Yogacaras, Svatantika, Madhyamika, they assert five sense objects and the consciousness apprehending them are one entity. So, and if they were to assert five sense objects and consciousness apprehending them as separate entities as asserted by Svatantika, Madhyamika, then they would assert the external objects. So just like Svatantika, Madhyamika, they assert five sense objects and consciousness apprehending them as separate entities or different entities. Therefore, they assert the external objects. So, however, Yogacara, Svatantika, Madhyamika do not assert external objects, and they assert five sense objects and consciousness apprehending them as one entity.
그러니까 이 지금 구조 때문에 재미가 샤서 되는 정신이 잘 모르겠고. 그 정신이 봤다 되버려 가서 저 되게 정신이 막 걸어샤, 뭐라 그러샤. 정신이 와, 뭐. 내가 되게 정신이 뭐 되는데 그다 되게 정신. 뭐 되게 군도 되게 정신. 그때 되고 실질로 전에 딱 보다가 되고 와.
Yeah. So just now when I talk about the definitions of a conventional truth asserted by Svatantika, Madhyamika, I didn't mention the illustrations for each of them. So the illustrations of a conventional truth is, for example, the illustrations of an ultimate truth is the emptiness of true existence of thoughts. Emptiness of true existence of is the illustrations of an ultimate truth. Yeah. And Svatantika, Madhyamika, they assert conventional truth. for Svatantika Madhyamika, conventional truth can be divided into two: correct conventional truth and wrong conventional truth.
那我是给养到更多只小孩呢，那给输的能法子，那个能法子养到更多也是输到的能法子做的养到更多，那就会的。
So the illustration for correct conventional truth, such as form and space.
那老更多时候的话，就美路那个实际就是内有啊，美路那个实际就是内的，你就会去到不有啊，你就会去，美路那个实际就是内。这个大，所以看到我不都想出来。那老毕工作了，有一吃不有嘛？老毕工作呢，不是有比吃不有嘛？那个大是工作也是多啊，那个大老毕工作嘛，那看这个大老毕工作的，那没有那么新就是呢，你就去有啊，你就去不是老毕工作。
养大工作那啲有交友咯。
养大工作有啊。
And wrong conventional truth, such as the reflections of a face in a mirror, or the mirage water, water in the mirage, and the self of person. So I repeat, the reflections of a face in the mirror, the water of mirage, and self of persons. So those are illustrations of wrong conventional truths. So wrong conventional truths are not necessarily existence, and correct conventional truths are necessarily existent.
我记得啊，他讲的老毕工作叫人啊，就讲的，电上个他老说电上个他一条，他讲的话就每路上实际说的设备，他多设备，那我哪些电脑嘛，这个多同源，也多特别老毕工作的人，你的是不是接我的设备哇？
是给我那
我是不是接我的？每路上实际说的人，那我哪些电脑嘛，对吧？人实际满意吧？多同源，多统计起来老毕工作是吧？他讲这个大的。아니 여번에 진이 내가 열해서 아니 가장 다들 편이 이거 말와 아니 여번 진발라 진이 내우리 해서 편이 이거 말해서 말와 어디 가장 다들 뭐 그거들 최근에 니게 소소 지오기 때 나와 나시 왜 이제 지다 다 아니 여번에 진이 내가 열기지 우리 그거 니래 봐 아니 여번에 진이 내가 여번에 가장 다是吧？刚才个他就是看你要不然心里没有了哇，看你有嘛了哇，我心里跟你说，我看你的心里有个多以后嘛了哇，我的手上到底这个你喜欢对吧？哇，是教给别让我哪些，让嘛这个多推荐他，是吧？看你要不然心里那把不把钱不去，你有的是吧？
老毕工作点有咯，听你就有嘛啦，心里那把有啊。So when we talk about the wrong conventional truths, then it can be divided into two types as well. So one that is being able to be realized as Yeah. So one can be realized by an ordinary beings that it doesn't exist in reality as it appears. So the first type of wrong conventional truth is that it can be realized by an ordinary beings that it does not exist in reality as it appears. For example, the reflections of the face in the mirror. And the second type of wrong conventional truth is contradicted, or there is damage, there is harm by valid cognizers. Its conventional existence is harmed by valid cognizers. Its conventional existence is harmed or contradicted by valid cognizers. So the example for the second type is self of person.
사디지로 하나 그때 다 자샤고 있고 스티로 그때 다 무슨 노래로 뭐
가려고 괜찮아지.
이거 그때 사람 이렇게 저기가 전에 그거 지로 그래서 근데 뭐 지로 좋아 한 아빠 와서 이지 나시 강사기 세기다
참마디양 비카잔 비 좋아치레기 주주사 다나 구당 가마 내고
근데 버르는 저는 영 좋아트 연지라요
그래서 한다.
뭐 된다지요
그래서 yeah so before I proceed further do you have any question?
Yes, Ken. You mentioned the example of the wrong conventional truth, which is the example for the one that is able to be realized by an ordinary being, but does not exist in reality as it appears. The example you gave was reflection of a face in a mirror. Do you mean reflection of a face or actual face in a mirror?
So in the Suzuki na wana shintala majuba to yoris in the chenshiti melong nangi shegi sunyen de roisha. Shegi sunyen na yana melong nangi she.
그 시기 순위에 시기 나와나 시기 많이 받고 그래서
나 shegi sunyen de na wana king
시기가 나와 그거 니나 시기 많이 받고
시기 she 많이 봐. she를 많이 봐. she를 많이 봐. yoris.
나와나 시기 많이 받는 거로 봐. 그거 봐. 능걸 나와나 시기 많이 받고 그래서 봐.
melong nangi shegi sunyen de nangi yore yene shere de atena tu bio mares ako bio de de senshi de melong nangi shegi sunyen anja de sharo shere gi sunyen de shegi sunyen de yeah so the illustration for how to take because that is that can be realized by an ordinary beings that it doesn't establish or it doesn't exist in reality as it appears, then an illustration is the reflections of the face in the mirror because ordinary beings, to an ordinary beings, the reflections of face appears. So, however, face do not exist in reality. So this can be realized by an ordinary being.
뭐도 거기 빼쳤는데 이게 장가 왔어요. 무슨 피가 쓰지고 해서. 돈이 맞다 봤어. 그거. 이게 장가 이때 나와나 이 살아 맞이 봐. 나와나 이 살아 맞이 봐. 그거 지다. 그거 지다 단위를 지내 봐. 뭐지? 그래서
你是给我的刚才的几点rangawa啊？那的东尼嘛多。
是给我说的。也빼쳤는데 장가 왔어.
几点rangawa那配线啊说音记呢找不到我有时候 yeah so in text then just now I said ordinary being right so in text then they will say it will say worldly beings so worldly beings also refers to those who have not realized emptiness.
Ishila, I have a question.
Yes.
Under definition on top there, we say that this Sautantrika Madhyamaka similar to Sutra school, Sautantrika, but they exert external object exist, but they do not exert sound knower. In our class in Sutra school, Sautantrika do exert sound knower. So this is something different from Sautantrika, isn't it?
That's all. Yeah. Today you be uma rang ba. Rangji de ke ling yu na me. Rangji de ke milen ba wa.
Rangji ke milen, de milen ke ba ba.
Ke milen xin, jiu tun ju ba de ke ling yu ro. Ini to de ba ina rangji ke ling yu ro. 또 디바 장이나 베니디 장지 디켈링 요레 치료된 데 두기오로 세상이 양디 치마 치고 되고
그렇지고 그 말에 나자 패치는 넣어놔 나자 패치도 되고 패치에서 내가 가지고
그 받으러
소노 패치는 저거 받으러 될로 봐 항상 켈레 봐요 말 지금서 켈레 뭐 뭐서 너 되버게 뭐 수강가 덴버트 봐 켈레 거에서 나지 뭐 덴버트 봐 지에 켈레
나 온다 얘가
너 되버게 덴버트 봐 켈레 거로 덴버트 봐 다뭐 수수 좀 덴버트 봐 켈레 거로 라지버게 덴버트 봐 세워 됐잖아 켈레 거로 도대체 뭐 말하지 봐 먹을 수 있는 거 덴버트 봐서 저기 켈레 스만다 봐요 말 패치로 와서 비슷하네.
Yeah. So this is where the words mostly comes into picture. So Sautantika, Svatantika Madhyamaka is a Madhyamaka who propounds the presentations of nominal existence mostly in accordance with Sautantika tenets, right? So Sautantika itself, they assert a self-knower and they assert the establishments of external objects, right? So Sautantika, Svatantika Madhyamaka here, they assert mostly. So mostly here can be also understood as partially, can be also understood as mainly. So mainly in accordance with Sautantika tenets from the perspective of establishment of from the perspective of establishments of external objects. So in terms of this establishment of external objects, Sautantika, Svatantika, Madhyamaka are similar to Sautantika.
this is the cheaper, negative Umaranjiba, that's what the Chiang is. That negative Umaranjiba, the sugar, system of working in. Huh? Did you Umaranjiba? Set up a Dusu hang up with it, but to Bakili or cinema. Hang up with it, never to Bakili or
sure, since I'm
since the Susu hang up with the demo to Bakili or she wanted to hang up with the she wants my demo to Manila or demo to Bakili or I needed to Umaranjiba. Zutanga demo to what's on the killing. Being a Kennedy on the Deva Sarwa. That I know the digital gender, the big Chipachijan. Chipachijan. The digital Umar than a Zutanga. But the watch and the Zutanga, we should get to a killing Mares. The digital Umar, but the center of what in Mawatwa. That's it about the other country was that Zutanga and the Shiba watching. Rua. Tagi Limba or Dressity. Mato, Sutanga, the Dematu Bachini place.
As Susu Tonga Rangin Shibati, or
Okay. Since the Dematu Sutanga Dematu Bakini or then you over Rajiba Sutanga Dematu Bakini, the Premier Bakini, yes. Then I shall pitch in does it over my chance to go Marisco.
So when it says mostly, then it can be understood as partially or mainly. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that they are exactly the same as Sautantika. So, for example, Sautantika asserts things such as form as truly existence. However, for Sautantika, Svatantika, Madhyamaka, they do not assert things as truly existent. So, and the same reason applies to the second definitions, the definitions of a Yogacara, Svatantika, Madhyamaka. So, is a Madhyamaka who propounds the presentations of nominal existence mostly or partially in accordance with Chittamatra tenets. So, for example, for Chittamatra, for Chittamatra, we assert that 5 sense objects such as form are other power. So, since they are other power, they are truly existence. So, however, for Yogacara, Svatantika, Madhyamaka, they do not assert those 5 sense objects such as form as truly existence. So, however, they are similar in some way, right? That's why it says mostly in accordance with Chittamatra tenets. So they are similar in asserting that 5 sense objects such as form and consciousness apprehending them are one entity. So from this perspective, Satchita Matra and Yogacharas Padatika Madhyamaka are similar.
I'd like to ask a question. Can this standard philosophical schools, they are actually conventional, aren't they? So whether they are correct conventional or wrong conventional, they are, to my mind, conventional, meaning that they not necessarily reflect the ultimate truth. In other words, they're not necessarily correct. It's just a philosophy. This is my question. So in other words, what I'm saying is that all these various tenets, these various schools, none of them can be said to be actually reflecting the actual truth of existence. Am I right there?
The truth of existence.
The truth, not the ultimate truth. Then they are only philosophies. They are conventional. In other words, they are mind-made. They are philosophies. They are thought of by minds, exalted minds, if you like, clever minds, if you like, but they not necessarily reflect any of them, not necessarily reflect the ultimate truth. Am I correct to assume that? They are not necessarily the ultimate truth. None of them could necessarily be called the ultimate, reflect the actually existence. They are all conventional, meaning they are made by mind, a philosophy, and not necessarily the truth. That's what I'm trying to ask.
The philosophy itself, or the tenets propounded by them.
The tenets of philosophy.
Right?
The tenets of philosophy founded by these various panditas, But my question is, can we assume that not necessarily that any of them reflect the actual truth? Not nearly any of them is correct, in other words, in terms of absolute truth.
So, any 파디 심리소아레스. 이네 그래서 아니 콩초 방시에 받은죠. 그래서 아니 어떤 신경을 플렉트야. 콩초 강시에 받은죠. 된담 댐바 양 가자 댐 투바. 그게 근데 서로 땅나 디기였어. 아이스나 그 파스에 대 심리소아레스. 강사기 소아레스. 심리소아레스. ini 재단이 디 tukthati 이 kunso기 대마리 피시디 당기디 시유사를 하고 말고 어디 kunso 대마리스 ini 재산 콩소 강시에 받은죠 콩소 강시에 받은죠 ini kunso 대마로 재산이 콩소 강시에 받은죠 만 대마 into the place 이게 남나 디규야 근데 선물 땅나 디규
근다서도 가시는 방법 같은 거지 시설화 부탁도 나는 that's what I suppose that I did the killing of the woman. Because it's not get down what to be taught.
재산의 콩소 강시에 받은 조인의 대양 문대마 시도기어나스 벤도기어나스 양 콩소 강시에 받은 조 인양디 된한 대마 그냥 엠바 덴덴용
그래서 뭐 그거 주로 뭐 가서 숨이 다 된다데 뭐 샤바이나 가서 공부를 우마가 주다마 가다가 우마 주다가 가다 공부를 준다고 진짜 우마가 주다마에 가서 소가 나고 우마 비다와 쓰듯이 들어와 공부를 듣고 가서 시 들어와 이니 지나자 참도 시 들어와 뭔가 나자 시 뭔가 되는 시 들어와 공부를 우마가 주다마에 가다가 가자 어디에서 아마도 봐봐 거기는 생각이 주다마에 가다가 생각이 주다마 근데 신선이와 뭐 됐어다 그 생각이 따와 처음부터 시도를 했어.
기간이 디펜스 하나 공부를 주 방기 시베 야나 두게 공부루두기 마웨 된데마데 된데마 리스 납초요나
그리고 그때 공부를 있던데 그 공부를 그 딘이 나샤 그거 뭐 이래라 공부를 그 집에 때들 하고 치려서요 말아
괜히 인남샷에 땡겨오라 괜히 인남샷에 땡겨오래 이니티 된데마데 양 된데마 리스 당마바데 된데마 리스 납초요나
딘이 나샤 때들 조금 더 되면 근데 대바 때문에 된다 대바 때문에 시그레스 공부를 두고 와서 된다 된다는 것도 더 하시는 것 같아서 그때 동반치 되어서 또 배라 봐야 된다 대바 동반이 될때가 거기 된다 대바
방시에바데 ngoni 된다 대마 랑래와 이라 그러나 제가 공부를 두기 된다 대마
된다 대바 시야도 된다 대바라네
방시에바데 니 된다 대마라 된다 대마 이마 땡겨오라 된다 대마 디레스 공부를 두기 대마라
어디 돈이 그거가 된다 뭐 가서 시오라 공부를 그 돈이 때도 동반이 된다 대바에서 때문에 최단지 데뷔 동반에 된다 대바에서 이 돈이 되게 돈시 최서 백군도 대바에서 그래서 대반지 나셔도 제가 때나 보라
랑이 뭐니 랑이 생이기 랑신기 주변 동바데 된다 대마 땡겨라 ini sing ba da wo ina de tunan de ma ma de ni de tunan de ba de ting yo ma ro tunan de ba ra mo ne di ni de la chung yo la so kyo ma la so yeah so so previously when we talk about tenets, then we also has to define what tenets is. Then it is an established conclusion. So basically, for example, Predictor Nagarjuna. So the assertions of ultimate truth asserted by Predictor Nagarjuna. So who is proponents of Madhyamaka tenets. Then so there are assertions of ultimate truths such as phenomena are empty of inherent existence, phenomena are empty of established by virtue of its own character, etc. So assertions of these ultimate truths. What ultimate truth is, then it reflects ultimate truth. So Predictor Nagarjuna asserts ultimate truth, right? So he asserts Nagarjuna, he asserts that all phenomena are lack of inherent existence. So these all phenomena lacking of inherent existence is the ultimate truth. So I'm not sure whether if I understand you correctly or not, then it reflects ultimate truth, or it shows ultimate truth. It presents the ultimate truth. So since Nagarjuna presents, gives the presentations of reality, or he presents what reality is, then it shows, it presents, or it reflects ultimate truth.
Yes, I understand that. But my question is this, is that one of these tenets is the only correct one, like for example, Prasangika.
One of these tenets, sorry?
All these tenets, only one of them must be the correct one to lead you to full enlightenment. And to us, of course, that is a Prasangika. So in other words, we are only studying all these tenets by way of intellectual understanding. They are not a path, in other words, they are not the path to enlightenment. And my question is, there is only one path to enlightenment. There is one correct path to enlightenment, isn't it? That's my question. In other words, I'm saying that if I were to study only the Lamrim, and I practice according to Lamrim, sincerely, honestly, and correctly, I should be able to attain enlightenment without having to understand all these tenets. That's why I'm sorry, I'm trying to clarify my own thinking, my own mind, my understanding, you know. So that's what I'm saying is that if I hit on the right path, then there's a path to enlightenment. All other paths are approximate paths. They are not all the paths to lead to enlightenment. That's my question. So, example, the Sautantika, the Arahats and the what we call it, Chika Buddhas, they say that they don't have to understand what they call it, emptiness of phenomena, and they can be enlightened by understanding the emptiness of only the person, the I. So but that apparently is refuted by the Prasangika, you know. So that means one of them must be wrong. There's only one way to attain enlightenment. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to clarify my thoughts.
So to tama wa shi nang lo la ngoni china to tama wa ti ang she ba de varis ta yoris any ang zo bi chani she wa na di tengyu wa ang she ba de zo any ang di ta da wa ngoni ris de varis shini kai pena cha chana senjam ba kang she ba de zo na to de ba kang she ba de zo na de ngoni rang ma ro de ba rang ma ris cha sang de ba rang ma ro kai is not the如果康熙的说你的巴黎斯，那就的可是天主为路了，康主把的，可是康马为就他的讲话呢，写话呢，两边写话呢，上几多的话，被他恰相当做生长把给对出的蛤蟆个节，对吧？对出的蛤蟆个节，其他马为对出的蛤蟆个节，也是用说天主为路的，对他马。他的直播阿哥呢，上节突越了，上节突越了。
那等他现在到这季嘛，他就到这些，可能还不熟的这个。我说到这个呗，现在哪些联系过？现在嘛，到的我就马上都得到的，也那不行嘛，也是我。都得到吃的，也不就马上的，一身上的到吃的，也不习惯嘛，也是我。现在的到的也不就马上让这边到的，也不习惯嘛，也是我。他让这边到是比到不也不就马上的，他这个到是先干的好不也是我。你往说正常嘛，习惯的我说第一趟呢，就帮你下过的第一趟呢，这个别有那么去，也我们的也我记我们的别就有都没多去，但等对趟呢，我说正常嘛我写的，就是6个月的事。因为我说他现在来去了马家呢，他这个正常的，因为上街的趴下，他就正常不了，原来也不行嘛的事。
yang kongi kangshi ba den so ina de ta ma wa den so de ta
电报的电报是正常收都录了写本录个电报的也是了别的当我的节目这个自由的节目的那怎么别的不我呢对吧嘛是的的话
你的身上吧
可能现在可能现在的电报的是可能做的为什么可能录了嘛现在现在嘛可能录了电报做的那等他把别的当呢这个电报因为他现在不了趴下呢他就我的电报买了我们现在是电报买的他就录了趴下呢现在不是开始的电报买的开始电报他们电报民就买的对吧这当我是前面兄弟我那是这当这头呢嘛没有我是当把这学校给弄这是这当听我一个前面拿下去对不对吧那永时都把它讲回去那他就第是开始第是前面买到一个买到
其實空氣心水啦，做啲同佢話直播啲講你下個話，那啲生意都嘅，你現在被對住邊啊？查實啦，現在被對住啦，啲人先在面切到嘅，人邊啊查實啦，你林瑞啲加林瑞啲你啲人就千幾馬路吧，你養到話啲下個啦，下到啲下個啦，啲人啲生意都嘅，你拿錢，你啲拿。
哪里也不去，希望那我是正常的，就是你个仔細的話，但是不給到的嘛，是為了哪里的。就是他们都不给年龄接的，我起来搞的搞不了的话，是当然的一些嘛，别老往去的也是，
对，oh yeah. So so for example, if you only grasp Prasangika Madhyamaka way of their assertions. And then and regard it as the correct path, then in relation to it alone, then I can achieve enlightenment. So, and then I can assume that Prasangika Madhyamaka assertions is the correct one among the 4 schools of tenets, right? So And then other schools are intellectuals. And if I, say, like, for example, if I understand Lamrim correctly, then I can achieve enlightenment. So, example like this. So this is your, your questions and what you mentioned just now. So, however, Geshe-la said that these 4 schools of tenets, they are like staircase. So you have to understand the previous one in order to understand the later one. So, like, for example, if you do not understand Vaibhashika's assertions, then it's very difficult for you to understand the assertions of Sautrantika. So similarly, if you do not understand well Sautrantika, then it's very difficult for you to understand Chittamatra, and similarly Chittamatra and Svatantika Madhyamaka and Svatantika Madhyamaka and Prasangika Madhyamaka. So these schools of tenets are like staircase. If you do not understand well the previous one, then it's very for you to understand exactly or understand well the later one. So if we do not understand tenets, these schools of the 4 schools of tenets, then don't mention about achieving the state of enlightenment. So Prasangika Madhyamaka assertion itself, we also cannot understand correctly. So in terms of view, then this the previous school is the course for you to understand the view of later school. Oh yeah. Lamrim namgi di tawa di shivi kola shivi kama yang di
so machine thing was
주타마 시 다와 대한 하고 나마 원이 디 어딘 조디 하고 타동 된 조로
탄조하게 따와서 꼭 하고 그래서 무슨 탄조하게 따와대 고발라 탄조하게 따와대 하여튼 임발라 아무 따와 라빠도 가리지 않고 이 맛이 받다 따와 참을 시도 말아 라빠디 야부지 참을 야부시 발라 라빠도 가리지 되면서 라빠 외쳐는 맞아 봐 참을 항상 왜 소토야 하는 거지.
Yeah, so similarly, if we, for example, study Lamrim, then we also have to understand the path of small capable being, then followed by the path of medium capable being and path of great capable being. So in terms of view, for example, in terms of view, in order to understand the view mentioned in the Lamrim text, then we also need to understand assertions asserted by different schools. So similarly, in order to understand Prasangika Madhyamaka assertions to be the ultimate one, to be the final one, we also need to understand the course one. So without knowing the course one or causal one, then it's very difficult for us to understand the Prasangika Madhyamaka assertions to be the ultimate one.
그래서 캐셔바를 나도 단지하게 따와 타도 단지하게 그다음에 그 진지 주비 동안에 따와 타도 잡아요.
랑이 진지
주비 동안에 랑게 진지 주비 동안에 따와 타도 대신 발라 랑게 진지 주비 너게 랑지 빠게 랑게 진지 주비 너고 진지 주비 단지 리셰고 하고 랑게 진지 주스도 마시 바이나 랑게 진지 주비 동안 따와 시야 그래요.
랑주 바데 랑기 진지 주비
랑지 최대 랑 주바 킬링 거요. 랑게 진지 주치다 도나데 마시 바 랑게 진지 마두바 또 시야 그래요. 배샤와이나 랑지 바게 랑게 진지 주바데 킬링 거요. 주바 랑게 주바데 킬링 어디 랑게 진지 주다가 가지 주고도 아무 데시오. 내 마시 바데 타주하게 따와 타도 랑게 진지 마두바데 시야 그래요.
东西东北东了
진짜 주바데 아니요 랑게 진지 마두가 반네 게시오로와 랑게 진지 마두가 최랑게 진지 마두가 시발라 랑게 진지 주츠 주다는 시오 내 마시나 내 랑게 진지 마두가 시도야 그러나
So the ultimate view asserted by Prasangika Madhyamaka is emptiness of establishment by way of his own character. So, and in order to understand this emptiness of establishment by way of its own character, then we must first know we must first know how it is established by way of its own character, which is asserted by Svatandika Madhyamaka. So if we do not understand the assertions of Svatandika Madhyamaka, how things are established by way of its own character, then there's no way for us to understand the emptiness of establishment by way of its own character.
Yes, my query now is this. If Prasangika is the route to enlightenment, but going up the staircases until we come to Prasangika, that I agree, I accept that. But what I'm saying is now, Shantara Lakshita, Hayabhadra, and Kamalashila, they are all great masters. I'm sure they are enlightened masters also. Therefore, their tenets also cannot be said to be inferior to the Prasangika. That's my next question. Because these are all enlightened beings. We cannot ignore them and accept Chandrakirti's view only. That's my question. The final question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Sang Kiagi, Sawa di Nangshi, Indian Kishla Suma Nangshi, Niti Tutamawa, and it begins a Nangshi. In also the Tama de Indian Yogi, Tawa de Jani, and it is Sankiva. Design the Engui, Chudi, in a Sankibi, Zawada, the Zeus. In it, Shandara Shita away, na Shandar the Shiwaso. Shiwaso, and it be a Latin Jawayna, and it puts on the Sankiva. 工作上幾位呢？你呢工作人啲烏馬人叫吧？你烏馬人叫吧嚟話工作你點解當你點解呢啲烏馬人叫吧嚟？你呢啲工作人上幾吧嚟？你工作嘅單位呢？工作嘅工作人呢啲樣其實啲烏馬人叫吧？你明白嘛話？點啲立出嘅嘛話？你點解呢啲烏馬人叫吧？你對啲做乜話話？ ini dia ini kung yang disang kiwaro sang kicharo sang kichaina ini yang lebenje penachana gumuluju le mawa le member lakcho
lebenje so no gumuluju bita yilu wa yilu da terias ma to tawa tama to tama jawa ma to taji ni ka kone do wa senga ba ranji ba to to jibani ka kone sanje go wa ranji ba ke tawa thatu ma so what the power to do it, the power to do it, you know, with the Juba de Tolanga to pay that on Jibu, Juba Kenya, and instead of only need this order, think of us what only Juba's what. So much Juba the Kenya that Jiba Janta was a patchy new to Sanjay Dova. But our tattoo the Tanjo without tattoo the missing word. We did. Did a model. Was a Jana channel had the car race, was a Taju without tattoo. Sanjay, you know, touching you got a cool race. The brother was a bit cheaper, that on people a sense of was some of them also. I she needed to go to my bed, and did blow cannot sit up in the cheaper arm.
Design it in a day, lady J, Kumbolo to lay ma, and member and luxury.
Just to Gumbolo do so much Gumba drinking Gumba drink it, take it. And I'm also been a Tamaye Kanza. That on the Tamaye Kanza, you say that between Tamaye Kanza and the sins of my you, Ranji between Tamaye Kanza and Ranji, but you were your Machina. Without you were the Kata the Tango will do that. The Sanji is in the some Sanji is in the
since I made to them out Kanza in that day, since I'm my
the power told me the sin of Marina. Set up to Tamaye Kanza, since that he is so chivalrous. To see him at his chair,
Yeah, so when we talk, how say, like for example, because this I remember Pratyeka Nagarjuna and Baba Viveka. So Baba Viveka is the followers of Pratyeka Nagarjuna. So Pratyeka Nagarjuna is the founder or the charioteers of Madhyamaka, right? And Baba Viveka is the followers of Pratyeka Nagarjuna. So Baba Viveka commented on the intentions of Pratyeka Nagarjuna. So in order to achieve the state of enlightenment, we need two aspects. One is the view aspect. Another one is the conduct aspect. So in terms of view, the view of Sankika Madhyamaka is said to be the ultimate. And in terms of conduct, so then the practitioner needs to cultivate compassion, need to practice bodhicitta, etc. So in terms of conduct aspects, so different schools they agree with each other. So that one needs to cultivate compassion and bodhicitta. So even though Baba Viveka, Chandrakirti, Asanga, so all are enlightened beings. So there's some Kiwa Raj. Buludu ini disa tumba tang, apa tome ini disa sumba.
Sumba. So bija nangola changol ka, ni kimo nangola.
Yeah. Also, being a person who propounds the tenets of Dhammatra, for example, like Asanga, is not necessarily Dhammatra or a Chittamatrin. So, a person who propounds the tenets of Chittamattra is not necessarily a Chittamatrin. For example, Asanga. So, Asanga is the founder of Chittamattra. He is not a Chittamatrin. So he revives the systems, or he is the founder of Chittamattra, but he is not a Chittamattra himself. So, like for example, Nagarjuna, Asanga, and etc., they are enlightened beings. So, however, for disciples, they appear to be on the seventh ground. Nagarjuna appeared to be on the seventh ground, and Asanga appeared to be on the third ground.
Well, thank you.
Very enlightening, very clear.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Ken?
Caroline?
Yeah, it's Caroline. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Earlier, just before Kwa asked the question, Geshe-la was mentioning that according to the Yogacaras Authentica Madhyamaka, the five sense of objects, such as form, the consciousness that apprehend them are one entity. I was trying to reconcile with these five sense objects. Can we say that entity-wise one, but isolate-wise different? Because the consciousness apprehending them, the consciousness is a mental consciousness.
Entity-wise is one, and
isolate-wise different, because this consciousness isolate-wise is different for the five sense object, because I understand this five sense object as the uncommon empowering consciousness, whereas the consciousness that apprehend them are one entity. The consciousness referring here to apprehending them is the mental consciousness. So I was trying to reconcile, how can it be one entity with the mental consciousness? That means the five sense object is one entity with the consciousness. It could be one entity, entity-wise one, but isolate-wise different. Now, let Geshe-la answer. I hope he will give me some clarity. Thank you.
Thank you. Nên chú về Uma ba, nên chú về Uma thằng chú ba, thì số thuận à, thì thằng cái sao, số thuận à, để rằng dân sĩ ba thằng ngô chỉ rồi chứ là, nên thì sĩ ba này thì ý sĩ ba rồi, ý sĩ ba đấy, nên thì ý sĩ ba thằng số thuận à, để nên thì ngô chỉ tang de condition na ini dia ka ngoji ina yang ngoji ina yang ngoji la to ba tha de ina
답변은 준집이 메시드 바 가도 잘 안 되게 이거 당한 준 메시드 준집이 메시다 이제 손이 다 니네 바샤 치세도 주 바리에서 니네 바샤 치 세데 지치에서 니네 바샤 치세도 주 바리에서
니네 바샤 세도 기
니네 바샤 치세도 주 바리에서
세도
이는 뭐 지치에서 그다 그래서 되게 제목
阻挡属性米线咯，你连把这些都大概我记住当个感觉，
我记这个经常的我记了你了不？我这边我记了我是这几年这的我记不巧个了，我记了这几个嘛的，哎，
个人家的，就是我当这的，我
这边如这边没有了，如这边没些的如你这几年的记住啊，这些就动嘛，这些就动嘛，这些就动了的。 甚至怎么这个就当的公益了，现在为了公益了，不你了，甚至怎么这个当的，公益是的，如果甚至怎么的这期的，这他的主嘛，这他的主是那时候这个主嘛，
现在没路了，
现在没路了。我记说的嘛是南卡这边千万，对不对？南卡这边千万的我记的是，我老是要嘛的，这他的是给下要嘛，这主要要嘛。 这是主要重要嘛？哪看这个怎么的？这他的这几年是哪样嘛？我几年是，
你我几年是，
我他的主要要嘛的，我他的主呢，他可能是我对的主吧，我他的主呢，我几年是，我他的嘛的是，这几是哪样嘛？可能你这强要嘛？哪看的这嘛？这个呢是因为。
그래서 ini dia 제시 수 집에 미시나 데 제시래 ini 남가 집에 세마이나 이 제시 말이 뭐지로 ini 대수 집에 미시 데 제시래 뭐지 양을 와야 ini 뭐지 매 경제데 양
제시 뭐 다가로 주세요
제시
뭐 다들 요마 뭐 다들 나 거시 뭐 다들 제 다들 중과
못하게 많이 봐이나 된 오지 임바로
나도 뭐 그러니 뭐 제끼니 그런 시기니 샤고와 시기가 뭐 다들 많이 됐던 오지 샤고는 오지 뭐이나 뭐 지스냐 뭐 다들 뭐이나 오지냐 걔 말아
못하게 말해 못하게 이나 대치로 된데 두기요 this is below line the 0.2 ba the killing you yeah so to give an example to illustrate this is eye consciousness apprehending form so eye consciousness apprehending form they are one substantial entity they are one entity so if they are not one entity then if yeah, it would establish as an external object for Chittamatra. So for Chittamatra, high consciousness apprehending form, they are one substantial entity and they are one entity. So if they are not one entity, if they were not one entity, it would establish as an external object. So however, for Chittamatra, they do not assert establishment of external objects. Another example is space and valid cognizer apprehending space. So they are one entity. They are not one substantial entity because to be one substantial entity, then it has to be a compounded phenomena. So however, space and valid cognizer apprehending space, they are not, space is not a compounded phenomenon. So space and valid cognizer apprehending space, they are one entity. So similar reason applies that if they were not one entity, then it would be established as an external object. However, again for Chittamatra, they do not assert that they do not assert the establishments of external objects. And this high consciousness branding form, they are established by the power of activating one substantial predispositions or latencies. So they are established by the power of activating one substantial predispositions. So they are said to be one entity. They are said to be one substantial entity. Yeah, so we stop here. If you have any questions, then please ask in coming class. So we are going to talk about modes of asserting object processes in coming class. So please read before next class. Yeah, we conclude these sessions with dedications. We dedicate the roots of virtue to, we dedicate these roots of virtue in general to the flourishing of Buddha Dharma and for all sentient beings to experience excellent happiness. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teachings, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to live eons long with excellent health, and may all their holy wishes and enlightened activities be accomplished instantaneously and be spread in all 10 directions. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue, in particular, to our beloved, our beloved teacher, Gyaltsen Lama Toba Rinpoche, with great honors. May the holy wishes of Rinpoche be accomplished instantaneously, and may the unmistaken reincarnations of Rinpoche be swiftly returned and continue to turn the wheel of Dharma for the sake of teachings as sentient beings, so that we will have the opportunity to receive holy teachings from you again, Rinpoche. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to the world peace, and may excellent happiness prevail in the world. And may wars, conflict, pandemic, diseases, disaster, and natural disasters. And there are nowadays, because of in some countries and it was summer, and then there are many disasters happen, such as flood, forest fire, etc. So may they be pacified immediately. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who suffer and those who pass away. So may their negativities accumulated be pacified immediately, and may they quickly achieve the state of enlightenment. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who help others financially, those who help others, such as doctors and nurses, and those who help others financially. So may their life be filled with excellent happiness, and may their good wishes be spontaneously fulfilled, and may they achieve the state of enlightenment as quickly as possible. Sabe ke wa ti ten dang jo wa kun la kan ben dang xie ba ji zhen lo zang da ba yi tu liu ling mo ren lo se ji shu jia chu sen jiao ren mo jie ma ke fa nang ki yu ji ke ba nya ba me ba yang ye kon do be wa shu jia be ba we ji da ken ba nang ku do sang bo de yang de xin de de ge jie zo da lu ji ke wa ti da dang jie ra do Tawa Rinpoche Ma Kepa Nam Ki Gyuji Kepa Nyapa Mepa Yang Kone Kondo Mewa Sho Rinki Tawa Rinpoche Ma Kepa Nam Ki Gyuji Kepa Nyapa Kone Kondo Mewa Sho Rinki Jetsun Do Jobe Lang Chi Tse Se Kan Chi Ten Du Yue Chana Pe Mo Ten Tse Ga Su La Su Wa Te Su Shen De Le Lo Sho Jite Kande Pen De Ma Le Ba Kande Chong Yue San Pe Yi Shin No Kame Su Me Ten Tse Ga Su La Su Wa Te Su Tu She Le Lo Sho Kame Te Fe Je Se Ten Rang Zo Lo Sang Jia Wa Ye Se Kyu Ba Je Rang Jia Xin Ge Jia Yu Ma Lu Be Te Te Me Ben Tu Ka Ke Le Su Tu Su Ko Te Tu Te Ren Bo Ji Shi Dang Tu Be Zin Zin Pe Wa La Na Yang Me Shu Zu Be Ko Jia Jin Zu Me Chi Zui La Ma Su Wa De Tu Je Ko Te Zhong Wei Ko Chi Bo Ke Wei Ten Dang Ma Gyu Tu Wa Yi Tian La Chi Do Zhen Ba Ze Be Mo Do Bu Shi Wa Shi De Yi Re Bang Tu Ka Shui Qin La Dang Ge Se Nam Ki Tu Ke La Su Jin Lu Me De Be Yang Ge Sa Be Zhong Ge Sang Tu Je Be Tu Niu Xie Shu Ka He Ko Wei Xin Gang De Ben Dang De Wang Ma Lu Zhong Wei Ne Qie Ren Se Wa Ten Zhe Jia Zu Ye Xia Be Xin De Ba Du Deng Yu. Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Geshe-la.